Hey guys, Greg here, Underground Graphics. Today we're going to do what we've been wanting to do for a long time. Since we've got our Bronco Raptor, one of the most requested kits for the Bronco Raptor has been the retro panels. That's been one of our hot sellers last year, and moving that kit over to the Bronco Raptor was quite difficult. Obviously, with the change in the design of the fenders, going through these vents, these no longer come off with just a few twist tabs here at the bottom. So we had to go around that, had to be perfect to get this to work. Our doors basically stayed the same. Handles will still have the cutout, or you can leave that in there if you want to remove the handles to get a full coverage behind those handles. And of course, shortened back here for that fender. And then again, back here, it comes up just under this, this lift here for the gas cap. Just barely clips that, comes back and stops right here at the rear, at the rear end. We've also done the back pieces as a carryover. On that passenger side, we have the Bronco Raptor's reinforced tailgate. On the back side, we have the Bronco Raptor's reinforced spare tailgate carrier. So that we had to make some adjustments for. We'll have some options for that. We'll talk about that when we get there. And of course, with the hood, if you want to do the hood option, we've made that hood extension that's going to come off of that factory vent up on top, where that's going to be part of what we call our standard hood. Follow the outside line, come down to the crest of right here, and then go straight across. That'll have the pinstripe that matches the side kits. So long awaited, here we go. You're going to love this. Again, with ours being a white Bronco Raptor with black flares, we decided to go ahead and do this kit in gloss black. You can really do satin, gloss, matte, and of course we're going to have all of our standard colors as an option. Remember, these are wrap film, so if it's 3M, it's going to be 2080. If it's Avery, it's going to be 900 Supreme Wrap. If it's Orful, it's going to be 970 RA. These are going to be masked with air masks, so those can flex as well. Nothing better for material. Your guys are going to love this. And here's the installation video. So let's get started. Over here, what you're going to get with that kit is a multi-piece. I'm not even sure how many pieces this is, but it is a lot of pieces. And you're going to get a white squeegee. This is going to be your economy squeegee. This is great for going right on top of that mask. Once that mask comes off, we do encourage you to go ahead and buy one of these extra. You don't have to have this. You can actually wrap a microfiber towel around that edge. But again, this is for once that mask is removed and you want to squeegee back on top of that vinyl. You don't want to scratch that vinyl with your squeegee. However, these are new. They shouldn't be an issue, but again, nice to have a little bit of insurance as well. Some of those extras you may want to get is that orange blade. This is plastic, so it's not going to damage the paint. If you need to lift a piece back up to replace or lift or get anything out of, it's a lot easier than your fingernail. Of course, you're going to need a blade. I'm sure you've got most of this stuff around the house. X-Acto blades, we have those on the site as well. You will need lots of masking tape and the prep. We don't talk about this enough. Prep on vinyl wrap on any type of graphics is key. What we do here is a water alcohol mix. We typically go about 15 to 20% alcohol, the rest of that being water, and that's just isopropyl alcohol. We do have these pre-mixed for you if you just want to get a little bottle of that. But again, it should just be household stuff. Pair of scissors, and of course I'm going to use my little nifty squeegee and my breakaway blade. Ruler, most of the stuff is cut to fit, so again, you may see me break that out just to confirm a measurement, and again, I'm sure you've got that around the house. And of course, you see my torch. I'm not going to use a torch. We're going to use a heat gun, so make sure you've got a heat gun. And again, nothing imperative, I think, that just for post heating, but we'll get through that again on the install. And some clean microfiber towels. Again, this is just to wipe that down, prep that surface. And I believe we've already prepped most of this, but we'll do just a quick once over again. But just to show you again a little bit more of this kit, it is several pieces. Here we have driver's side rear door here, driver's side front door, driver's side rear fender. And you see here we got the cutouts for the gas cap. Gas cap is a little different as it was on the standard Bronco. There's our hood, and then front fender over the vents, and front fender behind the vents. And this is that rear gate. This is going to be right where the handle is. And then we're going to have an option again, for that passenger side on that rear gate, we're going to go ahead and do one here. Since it's a black horse, we're going to have a cutout for that that's going to overlay that. If you go with a different color and you want to have that horse on top of the vinyl, we're going to offer you a solid piece as well with the template to put on top of that to reposition your horse. That means you will have to take that badge off and reapply it. That is in one of our other videos. We'll be sure to put a link on that in the YouTube video as well. All right, let's start cleaning. So, like I mentioned, I'm going to use that alcohol water prep. We're just going to wipe this down real quick. I like to spray that towel rather than get it all over your vehicle, but this is why we have this here, is to build these kits. So it has been, I don't think there's any wax on this, although we do a lot of detail spray to keep it in tip top as much as we can. If you have a ceramic coating on your vehicle, please check before for adhesion. A simple piece of masking tape, apply that to the surface, and if you pull up and it comes up super easy, you're going to need to remove that coating. We can either do that when it happens here, we do that with a light rubbing compound, just a little light buff on that. And if that typically works, if not, I suggest you bring that back to your installer who did the coating, and see if they can just get that down a little bit. And then, of course, always recommend, if you want to put coating back over the vinyl, you absolutely can. That will help protect. Make sure you get in these little cracks here as well. But that coating will help protect for years to come. As you mentioned, this is a wrap film. So it's a dry install. And typically, that life on that's going to be 3 to 5 years for the horizontal surfaces, or the vertical surfaces, I'm sorry, which are your doors. And of course, anything on the hood that's facing the sun is going to be a lot shorter. But again, this is all about care and maintenance. You should get several years out of this with no issues. So we're just gonna, I think I've got all that down. And again, we're gonna leave a little gap there. This fuel door is, it's strange because ours is a little tighter on the right side than it is the left. It's got a lot of movement in it. So rather than have to fight that, we're just gonna go around that. All right. Next, we're gonna go ahead and just put some masking tape up on the vehicle and kind of get ourselves ready. I'd rather have a lot of this ready to go than keep reaching for it. On the front, on that hood, while I'm thinking about it, we typically, you'll see us in our videos, use the, like a little stool ladder, and I'll use that for the hood to get up over on the hood. This is probably more than I need for that. So this, just like our Bronco retro panels, right on this spear line, and it's gonna be on the top side of that roll as it runs down to the front, and then it should stop right here at the top of the spear at the bottom. For some strange reason, I felt like these doors were different than our standard Bronco. Have not confirmed that yet. I'd be shocked if they were, but we did have a minimal adjustment as we were doing some test fitting on that. And again, we're happy enough to go ahead and get ready to do the video. All right, so I think we got plenty on there. I'll just leave this up here, and let's go ahead and start getting some pieces taped up. So make sure, again, environment, that you are in a clean environment. This is not something you want to do outside in the sun or outside in extreme cold. And you can kind of see here how these are going to start to line up. And right on top of that bevel, so you're going to see a little bit of that paint before it hits the fender. Again, remember, this is going to work. Doesn't matter which fenders you have, if they're painted or if they're black. Ours is a 23 model, so we did not have the painted fenders. And we want to tape up every panel first, just to make sure, one, you know where we're going, and make sure you have all the right pieces. It's very rare, but we do make mistakes. But we want to make sure that you've got everything before you get into install. And this one's going to go right here. And again, this is just to make sure you get everything taped up, just so you know everything goes, and then we can kind of mark our spots and go from there. What you were looking for is, again, your spacing on the handle. And again, some of these doors of our last Bronco, they were significantly off, so these are going to have a little bit of play, depending on how well your vehicle is built. There's our sides. You can see placement. And again, we can tweak as we start to install with this film. It being a wrap film and this mask, we can stretch and we can pull a little bit and gain a little bit of spacing if we need it, add a little more. What we can't do is shrink that back down. So you want to be really close to where you want to be on this. And again, I'm looking at this now, it looks pretty good. Our rear door's got a little bit of overhang, and again, that's so when we open this door, we can kind of roll that in if you'd like. You don't have to run all the way in, but I do like to have a little bit of curve in that so I don't see the white as I'm walking by the door. Our front door is going to roll in here, back door is going to roll back on the inside. But other than that, we are going to have that spacing for the vent and of course for the fender. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a little stool, and I think I'll leave that step for later. And I'm going to go ahead and start. I like starting with the doors. That gives me that basis to start from. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and pull these back up. Get that out of the way. I know if we got our doors straight. The other thing I forgot to mention too is making sure your alignment is right, is to look down the edge of that, look down the side of that vehicle and look all the way down. You're gonna see that rear fender has got a big blister in it right here where this pops out on that because of that wide body fender. But as long as it's straight and even, we're good to go. Same thing on the front. When you come up to the front here, that's gonna blister out a little bit here at the front. But again, as long as we're straight and these things are lined up, it's going to match up nice, very nice. So let's go ahead and do some scissors, some squeegee. Last thing to mention is cleanliness. We talked about the environment, or didn't talk about the environment. You don't want to do this in the sun, don't want to do this outside in the cold. We keep our garage, try to keep this in the low 70s. High 60s may be right, a little chilly. But the colder this gets, the more brittle it gets, the hotter it gets, the softer it gets. So you want to be right there, and there's that sweet spot of like low 70s. We're at 72, 73 maybe. And then of course, clean, clean, clean. We talked about that prep. Hands clean. Alcohol, make sure they're clean. You are going to touch the backside of this just a little bit. So make sure that your hands are clean. So I'm going to go ahead and hinge. And again, I'm looking at this line. This looks pretty good. And then we can also do there's a couple of different ways to make a lineup mark, which I'm going to do here. Got that one there. And once we just don't want to shift that position, so make sure we're still firm on there. And now we can pull this back because I'm just going to work on this door. And again, make sure this is not moving. So we are good on that. And then I like to use this as my marker. And just use the edge of that squeegee to break that tape in half. And we're going to do our hinge method. You want to have sharp scissors if you got them. And if you're not sure, make sure we come back and kind of just drag your hands on the edge of that seam. Make sure there's any paper that may come off of that. And again, this is that line up. Pull taut and make sure that lines up. And we're gonna go ahead and, again, I like that soft side to this, but you can do that hard side that's provided as long as it's on that mask. And when you come off that mask, that's when it's nice to have that soft squeegee on there. And I'm going just kind of not super heavy, just enough to get this tacked. As we get to here, I can go real light, because if we need to pull this back up, I want it to stick to the mask and not to the car. Once we know we're in position, everything looks right, then we can give it a little firmer application. But again, that's also part of the post-heating process. So once this is down, that post-heat, that's going to show us if there's any areas that we didn't get thoroughly tacked. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. And again, I'm pulling these all the way off. I'll line this up. Now, I didn't pull this one back, so I'm going to have to do that same thing here real quick. I'm going to go ahead and make that mark there. Make sure that lines up, and it does. I'm going to go ahead and just need to hinge this side too. And once this is set, just tape that out of the way for a moment. And just overlapping strokes. Again, if you want to use that hard edge, you can. Just don't go too strong with it yet. You can see I've got a little bit of a roll down here. But with that air release, it should be fine. And if you get a little concerned about it, you can pop that back up. But again, make sure your hands are clean if you're going to handle that adhesive on the back side. Now I can go back. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and pull this off, and I'm going to start. So you do want to tack that door just so you can get this masking off. I forgot we did gloss. I was expecting satin. Again, we did the gloss on this to kind of pull off the gloss from the wheels. Thought I may give it a little bit more of a retro look, although I think the satin is going to look fantastic too, especially with the flares. When you pull this mask off, make sure you're pulling with the surface of the vehicle. If you pull straight up, you're going to risk pulling that back off the or off the paint. And again, watch these pinstripes so they don't come up with it. And it may be a little strong. It means you got a good bond on there. And again, this is our 3M gloss black. We get a lot of requests for 3M. It's one of our favorites. Although some of their films do have a little bit of an orange peel look to it, which I'd rather have that with a quality film than have a shiny surface with a non-quality film. So that's why we use what we do. If you have any specialty colors that you'd like, an example of 3M, they've released a high gloss version. Installation's a little trickier, not too bad. Film's a little bit more. It's got a liner on it. There's some other tricks to it, but we can do special orders as well. Of course, there would be an additional fee for that, but Being a wrap shop, we can get whatever color you want as long as it's of quality film. And then again, I like that soft edge. Now that we're on that vinyl with no mask, we're going to use that soft edge to be right on top of that and not risk damage to that film. Remember, this wrap film is somewhat self-healing, so any light surface scratches, stuff like that, will come out with a little bit of heat. And here we want to pull up just a little bit so we can roll that edge in. And that's where that little orange blade would have been nice right there on that piece. We're just going to lightly open this door. Make sure we don't have anything tacked up here in the front. And then I'm going to roll this, let's see. Can you see in there? Let me go ahead and open this up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and roll this in. Just get started on that edge with your thumb. Don't do it all at once. I really just kind of want to go a little bit at a time. And then once we get that going, then we can use that soft edge of that squeegee and roll that down in there. I can't see with you. I'm going to go ahead and switch spots with you here real quick, Zach. And again, I want to be able to and again, we can go back with heat when we're close to finished and make sure this is all post heated. But we're good on that one. And we're going to go ahead and wrap the other edge of this door. And again, this is where you may want that heat gun. It doesn't take a lot, so if you have more on one side than another, that's all right. You just want to roll that edge. And again, that heat will help set that adhesive. So we got door one done. And let's come back and make sure our lineup is right there. It still is. And now we have another lineup, which is our attached graphic. So I'm going to come back and go ahead and put our mark on this. Again, I'm going to hold this down firmly so I can reposition this tape. And I'm going to hinge right to left. This, again, we recommend those middle pieces and come off of that. And if you're right-handed or left-handed, it may be a little bit different. So, take these videos as a guide. We recommend follow it as close as you can. And we do these videos, again, so you can see how this process is and decide if you want to install this yourself or if you want to take this to a professional installer. Well, I've been doing this for a long time. Gian is our main installer, and I do this rarely. And of course, if I make a mistake, I can just recut it. If you make a mistake, you will have something called IPC, which is our Installation Protection Care program. And as long as you document it, there's a link on the website that talks more about it. You document it, let us know what happened. We will send you out whatever piece or pieces you need. All we ask is that you pay the shipping on that. And again, if you have any questions on that, just give us a call or click that link on the site and it'll talk more about it. We know mistakes can happen. We do it too. So hopefully this eases your mind. So you can see here, starting to get a little bit of buildup. And this is that beauty of that wrap film. I'm gonna see if we can just push this right out. Yeah, it's a little hard on that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one back up. Pull that right up and lay that right back down. Typically you get some of that unevenness and this does work out. If I had the transfer paper off of that, we probably would have got that out just fine. But since that was on that edge, that was easy to do. All right, now we're gonna hit our hinge, remove our hinge tape. And we're gonna make our mark here. Here's our lineup. Remember, there's overlapping strokes. You don't have to be super firm with this, just lightly at first. Medium, light to medium. You want to make sure you get all the air out of there. But you also don't want to do it so hard that you're crushing it. And if you need to lift up, you can. Some films are a little different than others, so the adhesive, if you press too hard, you've set it already. You lift that back up and you're gonna see the adhesive when you lay it back down again. So we're good on that one. Now I can go back a little firmer. And I really want to get these edges is what I'm looking for. All right. And again, the hardest part maybe is getting the transfer paper off. So again, you don't want to pull that vinyl up, but you know, we cut these so close to edge that you may have to actually pull that graphic off with your finger and kind of hold that in place, just like that. And same thing here. I'm just going to kind of hold that corner. And if we need to tear, and then go back over with that soft side of that squeegee. So as you can see here, we didn't do a good tack there, so I'll just go back. With that soft side of the squeegee. And remember, you want to hit this, you can see why, because if I pull this straight up, it's going to lift that right off of that door. I just did it again right there. So if you get something like that, you give it a little pull, you think that got a little warped, that's when you want to hit that heat gun. Heat with this vinyl will put that vinyl back into its original shape, that original memory. And it doesn't take much, just a little bit of heat. And just let that cool for a second. And then we're right back in the exact same spot that was. So I can see a couple spots here. Make sure my squeegee is clean. I'm gonna go right back over those. And again, that post heat with that heat gun on that final step is gonna show us any spots that wasn't totally down. And this is from that light squeegee. So again, if you want to go a little harder, you can. But with this film, you can always go back and literally just push that air through through those adhesive channels. Just want to watch that pinstripe and make sure that's that stays down. If that comes up, it's a little harder to get back on there straight. And the front edge of this door is hard to get to, so we did try to keep that one nice and tight in there. I'm going to go ahead and get some of this out. You can hear that, so that was a lot. I really didn't get a good squeegee on the front side of this door. As we're just really push those bubbles right out. And again, it's so important to have that clean, fresh felt on that squeegee. And then on this door, since I've got a little bit of tack on the front edge of this, I don't need a whole lot to wrap this, because this one, again, like I said, is hard to get to. I am going to cut on the inside edge. And just leave this off. Now I can see here it's not attached to that body, so again, just really light. I felt that break off right there. And the same thing up on the top. And what I'm doing with this is I'm dragging that blade, and the blade itself is away from the paint, but I'm just wanting to get that started and kind of drag on the top edge. I just got that one off. There we go. And then when we open that door, we'll tuck the back, but that's not going to catch on that edge. And just for safety's sake, we'll give that a little bit of heat. And then with that soft edge of that squeegee, we can kind of roll that in. And again, the hard part is going to be get that flat on the inside. Sometimes you can take that other side of that squeegee and kind of get a little closer with that. There's even special tools that have little angles on them that you can get in there, but we'll go back and open that door and make sure we check that before we're done. For now, I want to go ahead and keep moving. Now our front side again is going to be attached to this, but since we've got so much on this door, I'm going to just give it a quick pop, and then we're going to roll those edges in. And remember, we don't do this all at once, just kind of start on that edge. The pinstripe is easy to fold in. If you had one of those little wrap gloves, this makes this super easy, but nice to have, but not needed. And just kind of work your way over that edge of that. And once you're there, then you can this is the highest traffic here, is the inside of this door and the inside of this door as you're coming in and out of the vehicle, especially as a driver. So you do want to make sure you've got a good bond on this. We see some wrappers leave just a little bit, like as we did on that back door. Again, it's not bad as long as it's covering it up and it's sealed. And again, that's why I like that soft squeegees. I can with firm pressure, I can apply that on that vinyl. And we're good. All right, we're gonna go to our front fender. And this is where it gets a little trickier. Those doors are the easiest to get set up. And now we're gonna look at how this lines up. And basically you've got, you know, 32nd of an inch of what you see in white, which is just the overlap, you know, the extra. We want that vinyl to be right on that seam. So we want to match this up best we can. And we're good there. I'm good there. I'm going to do that again. And I'm going to come down and yeah, I'm already set right there. I'm looking at that side. That looks great. How am I going to hinge this? It's that small. So let's do a top and bottom. And this one I just need a little bit to get on the inside. I really don't need that as a marker. That's a small piece. And we know where we're going here at the top. So I remove that one. I am going to go ahead and make our mark here. And we're going to hinge top and bottom. And again, make sure those scissors are sharp, because if they're not, you may have just dropped remnants of paper onto that film. So you may want to do that bottom first. All right, tack that, we're good. And I'm just going to come all the way over this in one smooth motion. And that you're going to feel that contour. And again, that's why we love this film. This is wrap film, it contours, it's air release, and the mask is as well. I saw there that it's not fully tacked, so soft edge of the squeegee. Right here, where I missed a tack there, I'm going to just let that pull out. Watch that pinstripe at the bottom. We're good. So as long as we're not attached to this door, I'm going to go ahead and kind of push in, and it is starting to get attached there. It's got a little bit. There we go. So if you can push that through, I just want to get that roll on that edge first. And then when we open up this door, you have a lot of access to that inner fender. And again, we just roll that in. All right, so now we're back on our front fender. We just finished that rear portion of that. This is a 3-piece fender. And of course, we've got this piece, one piece to lay over these vents. I'm going to do this third because I want to be sure if we're just a hair off that we can bridge this line to this line. So this may have a little bit of different movement, but this piece is more important to me to make sure we get this straight. So we're going to come back and double check our alignment here. And I want to be right on that edge there. And then I want to follow this edge. And it's going to come down and end up right here. So again, I think we're going to put a hinge here. And another one right here. And then we'll have our lineup. Now see, this has got a little bit of a pull. So you do want to make sure, I want to basically even up the spacing through here. And I think I'm about as close as I'm going to get. So I'm going to take that there, hinge here. We're going to cut this one as our lineup. And be careful setting your tools on the tire, especially the squeegee, because that's going to be on the material. And I'm trying not to touch that tire as I go through close because of the tire shine. And again, line that right up there. All right, now we can take off our hinge. And I'm going to make that mark here. Be careful. Again, it's nice to have a clean car when you do this because you may be flopping this vinyl all over the place. So that just hit the fender. Make sure that's clean. And I'm going real light with this at first. I want to make sure that's where I wanted it to be, and it is. And I got a little bit of air in there, or a little bubble there, but that's why I wanted to pull that tape off and let this fall naturally. And kind of work that air center out. Now I'm going to go a little firmer. All right. Now where to pull this from may be a little tricky. There we go. Remember to pull with the surface. And there's a little bit of lift on that pinstripe. So if you see that, stop right away because you don't want that to distort. And make sure I got that down good. All right, now we're going to do that middle piece. And I think on here, I think we just may hand lay this one because of those vents. So again, make sure your hands are clean. And I'm going to start down here. I want to finish up. If you need to pull a little bit, you can. A light tack there. And kind of follow that. Let's see where that lays. That's just a hair high. So let's match that up there. I think you want to try to follow that that line. We're right on that line. And I know we're lined up there. And now we are lined up on this side. So this one's a little tricky. But again, with this air release material, you can pick up and check it and lay it back down. And we're just gonna, what we may do on this next one is split these first with a blade. But I kind of want to keep those in spots so I know that those are lined up. And if we need to adjust anything, we can. And these aren't gonna, this is gonna be kind of an optical illusion because it's following the curve of the vent. But yeah, I think that breaking that, cutting that out is a better option. So do that before you lay that down. And again, we can, and if we need to come back and adjust a little bit, you can. I think I'm a little high on this one here, so I'm gonna, it's hard to tell. May just leave well enough alone. But again, these small pieces, if you do want to move that, put a piece of tape down to get your baseline so you know where you want to lay that back down, because this film is very pliable. It's easy to get wavy. Again, there's a lot of pieces in here, so just be patient. Watch those corners. If you get that corner, again, you can still use your finger to hold that down and pull that up. All right. That's insane. All right, one piece. So let's go ahead and hit that rear. Now we got our front. Make our way to the rear for that last piece on the back. All right, so now we're on our rear piece. Driver's side, of course, is gonna have our gas lid. Passenger side, of course, will not. So they'll still apply as two pieces. And as you can see here, this is kind of why I like doing this one last, because I want this to line up with that front door. And you're gonna have a little bit of, you may have a little bit of pull to work on this. So let's go ahead and tape that line up on our door so we know that's gonna line up here. And then we can kind of follow this, kind of like that fender vent we just did, is gonna kind of just follow this curve of the fender. And I think so you can see if I'm taped here, I still have a little bit of movement top and bottom, and that's where we wanna make sure we're as close to where we wanna be as we are. I think we're good there. So I'm gonna put a piece of tape here. I may do another little one here at the bottom. And then I can reposition this side to right there. And this is going to pull down just a little bit. So again, there's a little bit of pull. It's just to make sure we get that shape. And again, if you want to hold your mark, that's the best way to do it. And here, same thing. Another trick I think we're going to do here is I'm going to do a little small splice right here, a little cut, so this comes up and doesn't interfere. That is going to come up on that door, on that fuel, just a little bit. I just want like that. And again, we're going to go ahead and cut our, go ahead and do our hinge. So there's our line up there. I've got a line up here. I probably could have pulled that hinge a little bit back towards center a little better, but we'll be all right. Like I said, just make sure we're hitting these lineups. We got one there, and let's hit this one here. All right, now we're going to pull that front side. Remember to make our mark. Now again, we do have that graphic there, so again, you don't have to have that on there, but let you know where you're supposed to be. That was weird. All right, let's come on. Lay that right there. And I'm kind of going real light just to, there we go. And then make sure we got that top pinstripe down nice and good. And again, just getting that edge started on that pre-mask. Typically the corners work the best on that. Remember, pull with the surface. And again, there's that pinstripe. So make sure before you go to yank that off that we're fully squeegeed. And again, don't think that's tacked on the door, but I'm not going to pull on that. It is tacked. It's not too bad. But just to lift that up a little bit. And we're going to roll that end in there. There we go. All right, so that is our full side. We're going to go ahead and head up on the hood and knock that hood out. All right, so now we're back on the front of the vehicle. We're gonna go ahead and hit that hood. If you optioned for the hood piece, we did not wipe down our hood, and I can already see some, looks like just some debris that's come down from our ceiling. So we're gonna go ahead and re-alcohol this. Again, I've got some tape, I got my scissors, I got my squeegee, and I got my knife. I'm gonna set that down there on the bumper, just for time being. And again, we talked about that stool. We're right in the front edge of this hood, so really up to you if you want that. It is nice to have to kind of be top down on that hood. So if you got something like that, like a little workbench, highly recommend it. And there. Again, spray that microfiber, clean microfiber with that alcohol just to get that surface prep on there. Now we've got our Expel front hood protection on here. That is also on our site. It does not wrap edge. This one actually goes right to that edge on there, but the PPF is a tricky thing to install. So if you've watched our video on that, if you haven't, watch it, take a look. But that front edge protection is paramount on these vehicles. We got this pre-owned and there's already a chip right there at the front that we didn't get in time. So again, this hood graphic will have that 3/8 inch pinstripe to match our retro panels, but this hood also comes from our Bronco Raptor hood graphic line. We've got 3 hood options. This is what we call the standard. And it sits and kind of follows the contour of that hood, the OEM hood vent. So again, it's definitely easier to have that stool, but it basically lines up right at the edge of that hood. And let me go ahead and get some tape. And this really is just kind of an eyesight, double check, triple check, make sure it's where you want it. I think 4 pieces is all we need for that. And I'm gonna get up on that stool or this bench and kind of get a bird's eye on this. And again, I want to be right up to where this starts to roll, and then make sure I'm even on both sides. And you'll have to be the judge on whether you like it or not. Your placement, I'm happy with my placement. I'm going to hinge center and hinge bottom. Oh, as I mentioned, that hood graphic, we kind of pulled this back just so it hits right above that line. So I know you can't see this because it's clear, but this does work with our hood kits. So again, I'm going to go ahead and do a tape right and a tape left just to make sure I'm on my mark. And I got my scissors. I got my blade down there and my soft squeegee, or my hard squeegee with the soft edge on it. So again, we can do that. Sometimes that's a little tricky if you're not straight on it, so you can just use that edge of that squeegee to cut it. And again, make sure our hands are clean. And the air just kicked on right above me. And again, just get that started. I like that soft squeegee on there. You don't have to have it. And I'm just kind of going somewhat light pressure and make sure I hit that tape mark on the right. And you see I'm kind of working that center out. Make sure we get that pinstripe. And I'm kind of doing just like the side, just a light, moderate squeegee. Make sure that all lays down good, and once we know it does, then you can go back a little harder with it, especially on those edges. And you can see that in the mask, how hard we're squeegeeing. I move that hinge tape, move our second piece of hinge tape. Go ahead and right where it's supposed to. And again, this is why you don't want to do this outside in the sun. I just laid that right on that paint. But because this is pretty cool, 72, 73, that just squeegees right out. And if you do start to get a catch, you can lift that back up, lay it back down, and just keep going. So again, there's several options on these hoods if you like the hoods. But if you're looking at this video, you're doing it because you got the retro panels. And this is specific with this size pinstripe for the rest of that kit. Remember to pull with the surface. And as you're pulling down, again, you kind of want to go the direction of a stripe, so I don't want to pull that against that pinstripe. There we go. And then we can go back with our heat gun. We'll do that after, once we post heat, with our post heat, to make sure we got all of our edges and stuff down. But that is a simple hood. Now we're making our way back to the rear. All right, so as we get to the final piece of our Bronco Raptor retro side panels, the rear, we're gonna have some options. Of course, if you've got the OEM tire, this is not an OEM wheel. Your tire is gonna be closer to the gate. We do recommend taking this wheel off because and again, you don't have to install this piece, but we do have the rear gate fill, which is gonna be the left side of the handle, the right side of the handle, up into where this body line finishes just before the bracket for the tire carrier. Again, this is a 0 offset wheel, so it's pulled that wheel back, I think 3/4 of an inch, maybe an inch further back. I'm gonna be able to access that, which I'll show in the video doing it that way. But again, if you need, it's gonna make it a whole lot easier to take this wheel off. Your three bolts here, 2 people, you're gonna need to lift that off, set that down. Once that's done, you're gonna have easy access to that area there. And then of course, the right side of this is where we're gonna have these options. You don't have to take the tire off for this. Raptor has the black horse. Since we're doing a black vinyl, I wanted to be able to see that horse pronounced. So we're gonna offer this both ways with each kit. One with a template, so you'll have a little white outline around that. In my case, white, it'll show paint color. And then we're gonna have another option. So if you have a darker colored vehicle and you're doing a light colored vinyl, we can remove the horse, and make sure you watch our video for the horse application, the badge applications. Remove the horse, apply, clean off the residue, apply your graphic, and we also will supply a stencil to put this back in that spot. So that's if you want full coverage. In this case, we're gonna do the outline around that because it's gonna look better, I believe, with the white showing around the horse. All right, so let's go ahead and get that done. I do wanna wipe this down. I haven't done this rear of the vehicle yet. So again, just a little bit of alcohol. Wanna make sure we get around the edge of that horse. And again, these are gonna be, and that pinstripe comes right over this edge. So we wanna make sure we get that. And then the same thing for the other side. And again, I'm gonna squeeze my hand in there. It is totally up to you if you wanna do that with the wheel on or off. I can tell you it is easier with it off. Again, this is a 0 offset wheel, so it is pushed back. I wanna say like another 3/4 inch to an inch, which gives me a little bit more room. It is still possible. And again, with it being air release vinyl, you just gotta get that squeegee in there to get that down, but totally your call. So again, you want our alcohol around that. There's a rubber grommet in there with that wiring coming out of that. We've got a split in our graphic for that. So this is a fairly easy install piece. And again, so this is that graphic for the passenger side that goes around that horse. This looks a little bit different. We use a different mask on this as we're perfecting that template. So I'm just going to tape this up over on the right side for now. And then we're going to get a little bit of tape. I'm not even sure if we're going to need this yet, but I'd rather have it than not need it. And need it, not have it, is that right? I don't know. All right, and again, here's going to be our left side of the handle. And if you can see this border here, where that vinyl stops is going to be right on the roll of this body line here. So again, that's our mark. I think we're good right about there. And the reason why you want to tape this is we're just going to stand back and really eyeball this. There's no crease line on this side. There is on the right side. And then here's that piece that goes around that rubber grommet in there. Which again, we've just got that laid in there. And I'm going to tape this side up. And from where I'm sitting, I don't know if that's straight, so I'm going to step back. So again, with that wheel off, you'll really get a much better angle on that. Yeah, that's crooked. All right, I think we're right on there, or at least close enough. Again, if you want to take that tire off, that's going to hit it. You'll get a much better view of this. But again, for what we're doing for demonstration purposes, I think you'll know how to take that tire off. And we're going to go ahead and make our marks here and here. We can do this one may be better as a hinge, so top and bottom. So I'm going to turn these sideways now that I know we're in position. Or I say sideways, vertical. I'm sideways now. And that way I can hinge this front side first. And again, this tire is in the way, but I'm not going to take that off just for a quick install on this. And once that's back in position, we're going to take off that hinge. And this is a little bit of a tricky part again, because we've got that piece to go around. Be careful of that tire. And once we go straight back, and again, you may even just need to use your fingers to get up in there. I do recommend taking that tire off, so I know it's an extra step, but you'll see where this goes for placement and make that decision if you want to do this the easy way or the hard way, which I am definitely doing this the hard way. And those pinstripes will almost touch. And you can see that through the wheel. But at least I know I got that in the right place. You see that pinstripe lined up in there?
Yep.
Right there. All right. So on this piece, because I've got my tape already lined up, I'm going to knock that there, cut that there, I'm going to cut that there, and I'm going to lay this one in by hand. Again, make sure your hands are clean if you're going to be touching the back side of this adhesive. I'm going to hit there and there. And so we'll have two pieces to trim, this pinstripe top left and bottom left. And then we'll do the same thing over on the right side once we get that around that Bronco. Again, careful getting the masking paper off. There we go. Make sure we're pulling with the direction of that stripe. And then we just want to barely roll that edge. And then right down the middle, a little cut, and a cut. And then when we open that door, we can roll that one, roll this one, roll this, and roll that last one. And I still need to get the paper off of this side. All good. All right, last piece. All right, so same thing. I'm not sure how much of this tape we're gonna need, but just a couple pieces in case. I'll put that tape away. And this one again lines up just like the other side. Our lineup's gonna be that piece there, but basically that bucking horse. And again, that lineup just over this inside edge, right on that edge of the gate. I'm going to go ahead and just mark so I know where to go. And whether you want to hinge this or however you want to do it, you can really lay it in by hand if you'd like. I think with this cutout in there, I'm going to go ahead and do this by hand. Just lay this in. And as I mentioned before, if you want this to be a solid piece, it will be included with the kit. That means you're going to have to remove the horse and clean the adhesive off. We do have a video for that. We'll make sure to link that. I want to be just a little bit more to the right. So I'm seeing a little more white on that edge than I want to see. Let's see what this looks like. There. still looks perfect. Yes. And again, it's a little tricky again because you've got that little bit of that flop in there. But with this film, let that basically lay naturally, and it will do what it needs to do. So now we're going to go ahead and apply some pressure on that. And again, this mask was a little different from what we normally do. I was making templates. This was our go-to. All right, let's see if we got enough adhesion on there. And this mask is a lot tackier than that other stuff is too, so be careful pulling this off. Well, you won't have this, so. And then if you got the cutout, just make sure we got all these edges down. We're about to go back with that heat gun and just post heat. Make sure everything's got a good tack on it. Let me cut that piece out there. I'm right-handed, so I'm gonna switch spots with you. And just center that. Little splice. Little splice. And again, with this, we can use that soft squeegee. Push those in, and we'll have to open up that gate to make sure we've got that fully down. I think we're good on that. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is everything but the passenger side, which I'll do later. All right, so as we got this Bronco finished up, we did our retro panels. One thing that I left out, it's part of the kit, it's optional, don't have to use it, but most of these kits are typically the white or the Wimpy white on a darker color, and you don't see the gap in the doors. I mentioned it earlier as we roll this edge in, and again, it rolls fine on the inside, so you don't see this inside edge here. But if you have a bright color here and you're going with a darker color, you are going to see a little bit of that inside seam. Whenever we do a full vehicle wrap, this does get wrapped. It's a second piece. We do this first and then do another wrap on top of that to roll that edge. In this case, what we're going to do, I mean, I'm not sure if you can see that. It's only pronounced if you're dead on, the light's hitting it just right. But we have a piece that's about a 1-inch piece that you'll just kind of trim to fit. It will not be masked, so it's going to lay in by hand. I'll show you a quick video of that. We'll just splice this into our video. But come off that edge, wrap, trim, come off that edge, wrap, trim, come off the end, and so on down the line. So again, really quick fix. This is going to be both sides. Obviously, they're arched to somewhat match that door. This is going to be the driver door. And we're going to just do this real quick. Let me get this little chair. So we thought about extending this as part of the kit, but again, it's not always needed. It's absolutely optional. We're gonna go top to bottom, and I'm gonna go ahead and just, again, make sure your hands are clean. And again, you'll see there's gonna be a lot of overlap, but I'd rather have a little too much than too little. And we can just trim that and tuck. And now for that big one, this is a little bit harder. But again, it's for the most part, it is cut to fit that edge. Now you just want to get that edge down on this edge here, and then we can roll that in with that soft side of that squeegee. You can even use your finger, really. Just make sure there's no air in there. You want to make sure that's fully down. And again, that edge here, just on the outside edge. Roll that back a little bit. And I'm going to cut just on the inside of that. Should really have more than enough. And then that small piece there in the end. So again, super quick, super easy. Not always needed, but if you need it, it will be included with that kit. And if you want to go back and post heat that, that'll again give that a little insurance that that's going to hold. All that adhesive is set. And let me get that heat gun. So again, not needed, but on a lighter colored car, it's definitely nice to have that option, as we're doing on here. Now when we close that door, that line is gone. And no matter how you look at that, you don't see that white edge any longer. Okay, so one last important step. We just finished that rear gate post heat. So make sure, we do recommend this. If you don't have a heat gun, get one. This is too big of a kit not to do this correctly. So you just want to get this warm. I'm not asking you to get the IR temperature gauge on this, but ideally we want to set that adhesive at about 180 to 200 to 220 depending on the vinyl. But just getting this warm and then going back over the entire kit, what we're looking for, other than just getting this nice and hot, is any bubbles, any lifting, any spaces we didn't get proper squeegee on. It does happen. You'll see a little wave or a little lift. And at the same time, as long as we're got this thing pretty hot, and again, you want it hot to where it's almost burning your skin. You can see a little spot right there. And I've got this guard on mine. I just do that to, again, it kind of keeps me away from that vinyl, not too close. This is also what's going to take out any of those light surface scratches if you've got some squeegee marks, which can even happen with the felt squeegee. I know this takes a little bit of time, but it really has to be done. If you don't do this, what can happen is, again, you'll get that air may expand and you'll see the bubble in there. You can typically get that back down, but if that adhesive gets dry, it's not going to have that same tack. Not much of this kit, if any, is over any stressed areas. So again, this is really more for just insurance, making sure it's all good, but you have to post heat over any areas that are under stress. If we were into that dip of the spear, or if we were to wrap those vents. And again, we want, it looks like we got a really good surface. We got good squeegeing over all of this. And again, this vinyl can take some serious heat, so you don't want to overheat, but get it nice and warm. Make sure we get our hood and our pieces on the back. It's easy, don't want to rush through this. Don't. I'm going a little fast. But do this right and you won't have any problems. All right, let's go hit that spot on the back and we will be done. So guys, again, thanks for picking Underground Graphics to be your Bronco specialist. We've been happy to have been doing this for, I think we're going on 5 years now. Our first Bronco was in the end of 21. And back there is going to be a little tricky, so just, again, you really should take this tire off to get a good tack on that. So just make sure you're squeegeeing very well back there in those back corners of that piece. But as always, we're always excited to do something cool for the Bronco. If you do get a little bit of bubbles, I can see right there underneath those front two legs, let that cool for a minute so you don't push this down as it being hot. That's it. So yeah, that's it. Again, any questions, let us know. Any comments, let us know. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next kit, which I think will be the Drift.